Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Malkin with me, Bring It On. Let's speak to our old friend Jarum. Jarum's friend is badgering one of their neighbors, a grumpy-looking loner, for a seat. The loner obliged him but gave them a sour look. The young witch sat down. Donald, Aji Donald, said Jarum. I hope you didn't mind my speech. I thought it was appropriate. But your friend here told me it wasn't, said the man, flushed and slurring. It wasn't. I tried to stop him. But he found out what too many people already know. I simply cannot be stopped. The three started talking. It was puzzling to Donald that these two men knew each other. Then it came out that they didn't, at least not very well. Seeing Jarum alone in the common room a few hours before, Aji had approached him and struck up a conversation about their travels in the wide world. Aji was finishing a tale about his time in Awabadis when Donald joined them. It was hard to follow. It ended with Aji trailing off and downing the rest of his drink. Jarum seemed relieved that it was over. He shifted the table's attention to the young witch, asking questions about his own travels. Donald had traveled little, but he had read about distant lands extensively as a child. He said as much. You may travel yet, said Jarum, after his unworldliness became clear. But until then, the woods are vast in their own way, and Eldest Lady's wisdom is better than what you hear from most travelers. He means me. I mean most travelers, Jarum equivocated. You come from the grasses, Donald said to Jarum. What's it like there? The name is accurate. Grass as far as the eye can see, with not even a hill to break the horizon until you're as far north as Uzakali. There are no mothers among the people, only women who give birth. Nor are there fathers. The land is the mother, custom is the father. It's a hard place to be a child, a harder place to be a witch. Common knowledge, Aji interrupted. I should tell you about Sakunezer. He began a long story that had no relation to what Jarum had just said, or really a set of stories. Who or what Sakunezer was, Donald never learned. Aji stories. 1. A predictable tale about his rich grandfather, all of whose children wasted the family money. 2. An account of how he was related in convoluted ways to several famous and even legendary people. 3. Anecdotes about the run-of-the-mill tortures he and his siblings inflicted on an old tutor. 4. A description of the mysterious illness that kept him in bed for 3 months. Donald was not a physician, but it sounded to him like croup. 5. An abrupt transition to his career in the King's Army, where he did many rotten things. 6. His time as a beggar. 7. His time as a courtier. 8. His time as a highwayman. 9. His time as a devotee of the Abyssian mysteries, until an unnamed sacrilege ousted him from Abyssia forever. No story ever resolved. Some association would prompt him to move on, and he would. He himself was the only constant. Then suddenly he stopped. If you'll excuse me, he said, wobbling as he stood. I think I need to step outside. Lies, contradictions, and no way to gainsay them, said Jarum after Aji left. Something tells me you wouldn't like living with Eldest Lady and Middle One. Well, a witch isn't bound to plain speaking the way other people are, said Jarum diplomatically. At least they have stories worth hearing, true or no. There are many stories about Eldest Lady, I'm sure she doesn't tell. The Grand Dame of my own coven told me one. It stayed with me. Eldest Lady and the Woodsman. Do you know it? The Woodsman? No, I don't know that story. Before any story could be told, however, someone barged into the inn in a panic. Help! Help! He cried. The Order! The Order! Someone's been attacked. It's the Order. Aji! The Order! Wondered Jarum. The two witches jumped to their feet and went outside. Aji was lying on the ground, bloody and still. A dozen armed people were beating him up, some using the butts of their weapons, others their fists. Their armor was black, and their clothes were dyed yellow and purple. This is for Esmaya. This is for Kazo. The man spoke through clenched teeth in a firm, quiet voice, striking Aji every time he said a name. It wasn't clear to Donald that Aji was still alive, but then the lump on the ground shifted. He heard it whimper. What's going on here? Why did you attack this man? The man looked at him in amazement. This man betrayed our nation, stole our secrets and our treasure, abused our women. Who are you to challenge us? Do you not know these colors? He tapped on the purple and yellow device on his shield. Even in Donald's village, there were stories about the Order of the Songbird. They were a mercenary band whose name came from their migratory lifestyle. They went from land to land, selling their services to princes who feared and coveted their might. Their fierceness was legendary. Donald didn't back down. Yaram joined him. We are witches. Until 5 minutes ago, this man was drinking with us inside. Now he's almost dead. If he's done wrong, he should answer for it. But not in this way. In what way then? We of the Songbird are not bound by any land's laws. In this, we are like you witches. You say he should not die in this way because you drank with him. We say he should die this way. For we drank with him too. We ate with him. Even so, he cheated and injured us. We are more than you are but two, and we are many. In what way should he die, if not this way? A low, ghastly howl broke the summer air. Everyone's blood ran cold. The other warriors of the Order of the Songbird dropped their weapons. One fainted. Yaram and Donald looked from left to right, from right to left, perplexed. The lodestone Donald had almost forgotten about went hot. It cinched him through his pocket. Aji was slower to respond to the unexpected interruption. He peeped through his hands. He had no chance to scream. The black dog bounded out of the forest shadows and tore into his throat. Blood spurted everywhere. The warriors quailed. The witches watched in wonder. The dog turned to Donald. Slobber and blood dripped from its great muzzle. It stared. Then it took Aji's corpse into a mouth grown suddenly humongous, leapt over Donald into the forest shadows, would never be seen in the world again. Why did the dead sometimes, and only sometimes, have such power over the living? The warriors began whispering among themselves. Well, it is done, said their chief. Quit your shaking, men. The ghost beast is gone. Let us leave these witches. Some spell of theirs to rob us of our justice, no doubt. The Order of the Songbird left, heading south to the road. The young witch met Yaram at the Bonnyjoy Inn. He was drinking with a scoundrel named Aji. In the middle of telling a story, or several stories, he excused himself and went outside, where members of the Order of the Songbird happened to find him. Apparently, he had angered them and they sought revenge. Before they could have it, and before the witches could stop them, a big black dog appeared out of nowhere and killed him. Incredible. What just happened? Remarked Yaram. Poor Aji, saved from one death by another. Those men will be talking about that for years to come. The one time the Order of the Songbird lost its quarry. Poor Aji. But he gets to be part of a story better than any of the ones he told, and he had a quicker death than he might have. I wonder what the beast was after. Donald knew or guessed. He told Yaram about Tylen. He shook his head. Quite a tale. And now I must be off as well, though without as much drama. I've stayed here too long. I thought we'd be able to talk longer. We'll meet again, I'm sure. But a warlord's house is crumbling in Res Ardor. I have to be there to watch it fall. Well, safe travels, and the moths gather away from your path. Yaram smiled to hear Donald repeat the blessing he himself had given when they first met. He waved and went north, taking the path to the mountains. So I'm guessing if we hadn't done the Forsaken Shack prior to this, we could have talked down the Order of the Songbird, and Tylen, or not Tylen, Aji could have survived. Donald pushed through a small, lively crowd at the back of the common room. People were talking, a musician was playing, and a storyteller spun yarns to an attentive audience. He saw someone matching Astamon's description of the messenger carrying the minister's letter. She's watching the musician play. She glanced up at Donald. Donald looked away. Better to observe her before approaching. Donald saw that she kept her distance from the other patrons and seemed perfectly at ease in her solitude. A person running messages between this forlorn region and the capital would have to be. She wore a sword at her hip. Was it ship? The young witch decided the messenger was all business, and not likely to let her guard down if he tried being chummy. At the messenger's feet, saw a satchel of hard leather. It was closed. The minister's letter was likely inside. An old man, evidently a practiced storyteller, was spinning yarns in the corner of the inn. Donald listened. Unfortunately, he was just finishing up. Maybe some other time. Donald maneuvered around chairs, tables, and people. Donald took a nearby seat as if to listen to the musician too. As the song went on, Donald noticed that the satchel was only loosely fastened with leather lace. It would be difficult to open it undetected, but Pharaoh might be able to do it. Donald leaned over. Lovely playing. Yes. I hope he plays O Dark Night. That's one of my favorites. The messenger acknowledged this with a thin smile, but redirecting her attention to the musician. She looked, or wanted to look, more absorbed by the music than ever. It was worth the risk. Donald set the crow to work. Pharaoh disliked crowds almost as much as not, so he came down from the witch's shoulder with reluctance. But come down he did, responding to the command that passed between them the way the hand obeys the head. He made a show of looking for crumbs on the floor as he hopped toward the messenger's bag. He swiftly undid the laces. The bag was open. He returned to the witch. Donald could see scrolls inside the satchel. One of them had the minister's seal. I keep trying to put words in as if I was writing it. Astamon had done a good job. It was practically identical to the forgery in the witch's possession. But now Donald would have to extract the real letter and replace it with a fake. A hex might do the trick. Casting spells in the common room of a busy inn was risky. No witch was loved, and witchcraft was why. Donald knew this all too well, but too much rested on that letter. The hex would feel like a very hard pinch, and Donald could make it seem like it came from any direction he wanted. The old man near the messenger was as likely a source of pinching as any. He cast the spell. Ouch, the messenger cried. She wailed on the old man. The trick was working. She drew her sword. Perhaps it was working too well. Your friend pinched me, the messenger said to a man who was trying to calm her down. I did not. I was in deep conversation with one of these ladies. She can vouch for me. The lady vowed that this was so. Everyone corroborated the story. If anyone pinched anyone, it was that witch. What is he doing over there anyway? Rummaging around, looks like. The messenger whirled again, her sword still in hand. But luckily, Donald had managed to replace the real letter with the forgery before his rummaging had been observed. The messenger glared at Donald, swooped up the satchel, and carefully examined its contents. All looked to be in order. She left in a huff. The innkeeper had meanwhile been called over to assess the situation. I don't know what happened over here, but if you were casting spells, the Bonnyjoy wants no part of it. I want no part of it, she said to Donald. Oh, my cat just knocked down a poster. Are you asking me to leave? You're free to stay, as long as you're on your best behavior, she said, before turning away. Then she turned back. You're also free to leave. The scolding was annoying, but the mission, despite some hiccups, had been a success. It required some finesse, but the young witch succeeded in replacing the minister's letter to Princess Didai with Astamon's forgery. Now the young witch had only to send the other forgery to Enzabar. If you're curious, the poster was it's a map of Middle Earth. The innkeeper is busy, always on the move between the bar, the tables, and the stairs to the guest quarters. The innkeeper scowled at Donald. Do any hunters come here regularly? I'm busy here. No time for chatter. Fine. I need someone to carry a message to the High Mayor of Enzabar as quickly as possible. You're in luck. A man can carry it south tomorrow morning. The innkeeper took the message and a few coins from the witch. She's putting it into a small chest, where she saw the royal seal and froze. As an innkeeper, you have to know it's not always good to ask questions. Of course, she tucked the letter away. Donald hoped that it would make it to Enzabar in time to trick the minister. Thank you, said Donald. The young witch gave the forgery of the princess's letter to the Bonnyjoy's innkeeper. The message would be taken the next morning to Enzabar, where the mayor would hold it for the minister. The innkeeper nodded and went back to work. Now Donald had to find the messenger with the minister's letter and somehow replace it with Astamon's forgery. Oh, already did that. Yes? The innkeeper looked as busy as ever. Donald asked if she had any news. I'm busy here. No time for chatter. Fair enough. Alright. Can't go up the stairs. At least not those stairs. Or those stairs. Alright. Looks like we're done at the inn, so now we need to fast travel to the woodsman's hut. I'm having trouble reading. My cat is zooming around the upstairs, and it's very distracting. Woodsman's hut. Woodcutter's cabin. Whichever. The boy was carving a little dog. You're back. I'm looking for someone. I was told you know where he is. Looking for someone. Who? Malkin. A witch, like me. Malkin. The boy looked confused. He rested his axe against a pile of wood and rubbed his temples. Do you know him? I don't know anyone by that name, but I think I've heard it before. From whom? From whom, he repeated. Not sure. I can take you to where I heard it. Very well. Off the path leading to the woodcutter's hut was another, narrower path that Donald had not seen before. They followed it for half an hour through stands of ilex and low, scrubby trees until they came to a slight hill. At the top of the hill grew a tree all alone. Its leaves were young and yellowish green, like leaves in spring. It bent, and the direction the wind blew could be read in its bending. Strange blue flowers grew at its base. Stranger still, the sedge that grew in its shadow had blades as red as blood. The tree. The woodcutter's son led Donald to the tree and lay his axe in the crimson grass. There was a crook in the roots, almost like a seat. The boy sat in it and leaned his head against the trunk. Sometimes I come here and sleep when my work is done. The tree changes your dreams. It makes them stranger. That's why the grass is red. So you sleep here to have strange dreams? More or less. What do you dream about? They're hard to describe. I know the feeling, but... He trailed off. That's how I know the name. I've heard it in the dreams. I thought he was just a person in my dreams, but maybe he comes here too. Maybe he plants his dreams in the grass. Donald studied the tree, crimson grass, and blue flowers. It didn't take a witch to see that the place was enchanted. It was late summer, but the tree looked like it had budded not long. Still, many of the leaves had fallen off. He didn't know what kind it was, nor did he recognize the sedge or flowers that grew around it. The Kami showed me Malkin. He's real. they'd know. He had taken a long branch from the bundle of sticks he always had with him and was whittling it. Donald watched him. He soon took out a goose feather and began trimming it. Donald took out the arrow that killed Ned. Did you make this? The boy stopped what he was doing and took the arrow. The blood didn't alarm him. He touched the point with the tip of his finger, then ran his hand over the fletching. Okay, speculation time. Malkin is influencing this kid through the tree. And so Malkin somehow influenced the kid to kill Ned. But why? May not have liked Eldest Lady's coven, but why did he kill his replacement? Yes, he said, handing it back to the young witch. There are 3 hunters who live in the woods. I probably sold it to one of them. The young witch thought back to the hunter who had dreamed about his own death and shook his head. Why had the witches given him this terrible errand? What did it have to do with Malkin? You know more now than you once knew, said a familiar voice inside Donald's head. A third thing left to know our sibling on the mountain keeps for you. Seek him there. The boy packed his things away and got up. It's not as peaceful here with you standing around asking questions. I'm going back home. Going back the way he'd come. Or they'd come. Pharaoh, who kept his distance from the boy, flew down to a low branch in the tree, called loudly after him. The woodcutter's son led the young witch to a tree where he had dreamed about Malkin, but he couldn't tell the witch anything about Malkin himself. After the conversation, the spirit said to look for the third kami to learn more. Alright, Donald sat in the crook of the tree the way he'd seen the woodcutter's son do. The sea of grass in the meadow growing around it rippled. The sky was gray. They were heavy and fragrant. He tried to fall asleep. A light breeze spread through the August air like milk and bitter tea. The place he sat welcomed his body, and he soon fell asleep. Then he dreamed. He looked out a window over the rooftops and spires of a grand city. Was it Wano? Wanro? Ilyong? Awadibis? It was a place Donald had never been, but its size told him he must have heard of it. Beside him stood Malkin. He shuddered. This wasn't like the kami's visions. Malkin was there, in his dream, and he could see the young witch. He turned to him. His gaze was thrilling. Awadibis, said Malkin, gesturing out the window. That tower, those spires, that's the university. That lattice work of streets and stalls with a big circle in the middle, those are the markets at the plaza of the Kingfisher. There's no better place to eat in the world. Infinite variety. And that, asked Donald, pointing to something that looked like a temple. Malkin frowned. I don't remember it. How do they make it, and from what? Where do they dig up that smooth black stone? They're sacrificing people inside. He turned from the view and looked hard at Donald again. Wait, who are you? A witch. I know that, he said. Just as you know that I'm a witch too. But how do I know you? The sun had been high as they looked out over Awadibis, but now it was night. It's late. I'll come to know you better. Follow me, he said. He led Donald down 3 corridors and through 3 arches. The first was ancient and hewn from stone, and a bed lay beyond it. The second arch was made of an alloy of bronze, and another bed lay beyond that. The third arch was made of freshly carved wood. There was nothing on the other side. My bed, Malkin cried. Where's my bed? Bloody grass grew up through the cracks in the stone floor. Blue flowers sprang up too. Wait, you're already in it, aren't you? Said Malkin. Talking about sleeping next to the tree? It's not true. The earth is the biggest bed, said Donald. The dream ended. Donald woke up. He stood and walked away from the tree, wondering what it meant. Yeah, time doesn't progress here either. Interesting. Oh, it's a path. Okay. The boy was carving a little dog. What is it? I was just stopping by. I'm fine. Alright, we'll read the words in the plaque again. Secret Sea. So I'm suspecting we're gonna find an underground lake in a cave. Maybe that's what the Secret Sea is. But that's purely speculation. I need to plot our next course. So we've knocked out everything on the eastern side of the map, including the stuff in the meadow here. Have we gone here? We've not. That is, unfortunately, not a fast travel point. So I come down this way, I go west. I assume that there's not a path here. But the Orchid Cave is probably another one of the Ronin's caves. We could go straight south. And potentially find a new fast travel location. And save the Orchid Cave for later. From this way, it's all new stuff explored. We've been down this way. That way. We come down here, go... Yeah, so tomorrow we'll probably go to the Royal Encampment and go straight west. Loop around this way. But I think until nightfall we can travel this path. Donald found some careless poppy. The name described its usual habitat. Precarious cliffs, rocky slopes. Just the kind of place where it was growing now. Herblore said it could encourage courage itself. Collected some. Oh great, more danger. Alright, well quick save. Witch! Witch! Said a voice from the trees. Palamon, the magician's friend, stepped into the path. He appeared to be alone. He held out his hands. He had no weapon. You're hard to track down. Please. I only want to talk. Good. I'm tired of pointless ambushes. So am I. I want to talk to you about Maness. Ah, the woman who gives me those terrible headaches. Believe me, she doesn't need magic to do that. Did she give you permission to follow me? I didn't ask her. She doesn't care much what I do. His dejection was obvious. You love her, observed Donald. Nothing but love would have persuaded me to leave Jad Bazunta. I was a geomancer of the 34th tier. Does that mean anything to you? No? Well, it means a lot there. It meant a lot to me. But here I am, driven to the ends of the earth, tagging along as she looks for Zaris. The witch hunter has persuaded her you know where he is. Why does she believe him? She's desperate, willing to believe anything. No disposition could please a witch hunter more. The last news we had of Zaris placed him here, and everyone knows witches rule these woods. It didn't take much to convince her that Zaris enjoyed Eldest Lady's protection. She has my sympathy, said Donald, who knew what it was like to pursue tenuous leads. But she's wrong. So you know nothing? No, nothing. I believe you. It's as I thought. No one knows where he is. But listen. I think I know a way to bring this to an end. Hear me out. The unmarked grave. One day a few weeks ago I was hunting. I came across an unmarked grave in the woods. It's at the edge of a clearing near the big meadow to the south. Do you know it? Yes. Good. I wondered if Zarus was buried there. I hoped he was. I kept the grave a secret, imagining Manessa's gratitude and surprise if I came to her with news that I'd found her enemy's body. Over the next 2 days, I dug up the grave, but I found only a skeleton and simple clothes. Maybe Zarus, maybe not. Actually, it seemed unlikely. We knew Zarus to be alone. What friend would have buried him? I started throwing soil back over the bones. If only the body had been buried with something, some token of its identity. For all I knew, I was reburying Zarus himself, and all my hopes with him. Then I stopped. Couldn't I make him Zarus? I thought about scratching his name into the tombstone, but that would look fresh and suspicious. Then I thought about the money I had on me, coins from Jad Bazunta, as useless as dross in these lands. I threw them in. A few coins wouldn't prove that a particular person from Jad Bazunta rested there, but to someone looking for such a man, they might be enough. Palamon looked hopefully at the witch. They might be enough. But how would I convince Maness to dig up an unknown grave? Assuming I could, would the coins really persuade her? But she thinks you know. You do not know, but perhaps you could pretend to. Who is Zarus anyway? Why is Maness looking for him? He did terrible things to her family. Sure, he deserves death. But by now he's an old man and might be dead already. At this point, Manessa's revenge is overripe. Taking it would do her more harm than good. So this is what I have in mind, he said, leaning in toward the witch. Nott instinctively took a step closer to Donald. Palamon ignored him. I like that Nott has my back. I don't want you to say you knew him or know where he is. You're a witch. I want you to have a vision. You mean you want me to pretend to have a vision? Yes, exactly. Donald considered the possibility. It was an unconventional request, but what was the harm in agreeing to it? Visions were fickle freaks of late. The toys witches used to please the world, not sacred prophecies. The laws did not say how they were to be used. If Palamon's plan worked, Maness would abandon the hunt, leave Donald alone. Won't the witch hunter object? If Maness thinks you can give her what she wants, his objections won't matter. She's had her fill of him. I will think about it. So be it. Maness and the witch hunter have decided to keep looking in the north. The witch hunter says that the witchcraft is strongest there. Look for us there, east of the waterfall, over the next few days. Palamon hurried away. Palamon asked for the young witch's help. He wanted to trick Maness into thinking that a certain unmarked grave contained the body of Zarus. To that end, he would enlist the young witch to give a false vision to Maness. Put the plan into action, the young witch would have to seek Maness, Palamon, and the witch hunter east of the waterfall, and the northern part of the woods. Before Donald stood a door of dross. The young witch used the key of dross. Alright, I'm going to call it here, and next time we will take care of this portal, finish exploring this zone, and I guess head north? Need to check something real quick. I guess no better time than to go north here. I'm assuming over here is where we'll find them. We'll try and take care of that quest, because it shouldn't take, well... It is getting close to the end of the day, but we might be able to make that. We'll see. As long as we don't have any temporal distortions or whatever they're called in this next fight, we should be alright. But either way, I'm going to call it here. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one.